What's up, guys? Seems like a lot of people have been claiming my Reaper template, and on my Reaper template it has one mix bus, but you know it's better than one mix bus, 3 mix buses. So this video I'm going to show you how I use multiple mix buses. We'll start by telling you what mix buses I use. So I use a mix in, a mix out, and a mix sum. And mix in is receiving my drum kit and my rhythm guitars. So if I'm using quad track guitars, I'm receiving the main rhythms, and on my drum kit I'm only receiving the shells, not any of the room or ambient or anything like that. I'm just receiving just the raw kick, raw snare, raw toms. And on mix out, I'm receiving the rhythm ambient, which would be the quad track guitars or any other like center pan guitars. I'm also receiving the bass guitar, and I'm receiving the drum ambience, which is the rooms, the everything that is not the immediate drum shells. And then on mix sum, I am receiving both mix in and mix out, so I can process both of these inside of one bus. Now, what that does is it makes it so I can individually process each instrument group separately. So on my mix in, I'm only processing just the drum shells and the rhythm guitars. On the mix out, I'm processing all the ambience and the bass and the quad track guitars. And mix sum, I'm processing both of those together. Now, what I do next is for all the other stuff like synths, vocals, effects, MIDI instruments, all that other stuff, I'm sending it straight to my limiter bus. And on my limiter bus, I'm receiving the mix sum as well as everything else, the lead guitar, MIDI, samples, effects, everything. And the limiter bus is literally just to add a limiter there. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm sending everything that isn't the immediate band instruments straight to the master. But I send it to a limit bus because I'm just trying to put a limiter on there, because I'm sending everything into my mix buses at around like negative 18 dB, so I have enough headroom when I'm mastering so I don't clip everything. So I'll give you a quick run through of each of my chains that I have on each bus. So on my mix in bus, I'm basically mixing. Why I named it mix in is because this is getting mixed in to a fairly fast attack bus compressor. As you can see, my attack on my bus compressor it's really pumping. And if I solo this, you can hear that this is really pumping. I'm not really looking to mix these in solo. I'm mixing these against the rest of the song. So yeah, I have this pumping, so I categorize it as mix in because I know that this compressor is going to pump a little bit more, and I like the sound of having the immediate drums and the immediate main rhythm guitars to have a little bit more of a pump, because that's like the main focal part of the song. And next I have another compressor going. Sometimes I like to double up on the compressors on here, and I like to have 2 compressors. So this one has a little bit of a slower attack just to kind of gel it together. And then I also have a saturation knob just going up a little bit just to get it to the front of the mix a little bit more on those main instruments. And then I just have a little bit of multi-band EQ just to make sure that the low end isn't over pumping because the compressor is pumping those frequencies a lot. Okay. Then we have mix out. So mix out is again receiving everything that is to do with the ambient and quad track guitars and everything. On mix out, the plug-in chain is basically everything that is not inside the in bus is getting sent to mix out, right? So this mix out, I have a slower attack on this to make sure that the drum rooms and quad track guitars aren't pumping as much as the main shells and main rhythm guitars. Because if both of them were pumping at the same time, it would just make your mix pump a lot. That's why it's good having multiple mix buses, because you can say, hey, I want my main rhythms to really be pumping and really like shine right through the mix, but I don't want all the backing tracks to shine. I want the gel to be in the back, but I want the focal parts to be pushed to the front. That's what's really nice about having multiple mix buses. And then again, I just have a multi-band compressor. Which really isn't doing much. I usually just attack the low end on my multi-band compressors on mix in and mix out. Then on mix sum, goes into a little bit of a longer chain. What I like to do first on mix sum is I like to excite the mix a little bit more with a channel strip EQ. So I'll give you an example of what it sounds like off. I'm basically just when I'm doing this, I'm basically sweeping like the low mids, the mids and the highs to find like the magic frequencies, if you know what I mean. Like there's those certain tones that you like and that's your taste. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push those to the front of the mix so that the mix can sound really good just with the mix buses. That's another big point of having multiple mix buses, is when you have multiple, you basically already mixed everything, and all you have to do after you mix your mix buses is you just go into the individual instruments and just tweak a little bit. Having multiple mix buses makes it so much easier to mix. So that's what I did, this channel strip EQ, and I think I put a little bit of a clipper there just to make sure that we aren't going past 0 dB. And then I noticed there was a little bit too much low mid 200 hertz information going on in the mix, so I just put a multi-band compressor on there just to even it out a little bit. Then the EQ, I just barely made a 0.3 dB in the mid range, and then I brightened it up a little bit on the high end. And as I'm going through this chain, I'm also listening to my reference track, because I'm trying to make decisions not based off what my taste is, but also based off of what actually sounds good in the market. Then I have a bus compressor. This is usually going to be a slower attack, and I'm basically just letting the needle barely hover on this. It's really not doing anything. I think it's more just so I think that the mixes gel together a little bit more, which it probably does help a little bit. And then max bass is just to push a little bit more of the low subs up into the low mids, so speakers like phones and laptop speakers and everything like that, and Bluetooth speakers can be able to hear the low end in the mix. Then I have a multi-band compressor. Just again, hitting that 200 hertz because this mix had a lot of that going on. And then I have an EQ. And what I'm doing on this EQ is I'm trying to EQ match to my reference track. And with just that, the mix is pretty much sounding exactly how you want it, just with the mix buses. Like I said already, what you want to do from there is you just want to go in and individually EQ, compress, whatever you got to do on each of your instruments from there. But this is a good example of mixing top down. Mixing top down is definitely the best way that I've found to do it. Probably not for beginners. I would say if you're a beginner, I would learn how to mix from bottom up, which would be you mix all the individual instruments first, and then you send it into a bus compressor or a mix bus. If you're a little bit more advanced, having multiple mix buses and having your plug-in chains already pretty much set up from the go, I can drag and drop pretty much any track into this mix bus setup and it will sound like pretty good right from the start. So what I like to do is I mix from top down, make sure that my mix sounds good right from the start, and then I go in and individually process everything else. And for all the other stuff like the MIDI instruments, samples, effects, and vocals, all that type of stuff, I'm individually processing that because none of that is actually hitting any of my mix buses, if you can remember. It's getting sent basically straight to the master, so those have to be processed a little bit more. But this isn't a way that like you have to do this. Like you can send vocals to any of these. Like this is just what I do because I make instrumentals a lot, but you can probably send vocals to any of your mix buses. But honestly, I like sending lead guitars and vocals and stuff like that straight to the master because I think I want them to shine a little bit more in the front of the mix rather than be like mashed together with all the instrumental. So I hope this video helped you out and helped you understand how to use multiple mix buses. It really changed the game for me, and I will see you in the next video.